If you had told me that in 2026 I would own an AR-15 chambered in 7.92 Kurtz, I wouldn't believe you. If you followed that up with the fact that I would own a AR in 7.92 Kurtz that once belonged to James Earl Jones, I would have laughed. Yet here I am with James Earl Jones 7.92 Kurtz AR-15. A lot of folks don't really know that legendary actor James Earl Jones strayed from the typical Hollywood mindset when it came to firearms. He was incredibly pro-gun, being a noted member of the NRA. Although he wasn't a fan of the NRA's politics, and I believe it's important we represent him honestly. In his biography, he said, "I am a member of the National Rifle Association, but not a political member. I just throw the political mail from the NRA into the trash." Now take that for what you will. That's not meant to be a judgment on my part, but a fair representation of the man and his NRA membership. His firearm collection would likely make most of us drool. It's been rumored that he had one of the few Walther WA-2000s ever made. There's an old joke going that if only 10 of a certain gun exist, then James Earl Jones owns 5 of them. Some of his collection has recently come up for sale, and it shows an incredibly eclectic taste in firearms. Of all the guns listed for sale in this collection, this 7.92 Kurtz AR stood out the most to me, mostly because it was also one of the few I could afford. Now I joke, but it's just a really interesting gun. So a week later, I had the rifle in my hands, complete with the certificate of authenticity and one big question. Why? Why would anyone want an AR-15 and 7.92 Kurtz? I can't possibly answer why James Earl Jones desired such a unique rifle. However, as a collector of the weird and obscure, I can see the desire to own such a thing. I mean, I own it now. And the desire usually comes down to, why not? Different is fun. Different is interesting. And the AR is so modular, if you were to make a 7.92 Kurtz rifle, it seems to be the perfect platform to do so in the modern era. Judging by how few of his firearms are out there, it's clear he had an interest in the odd. The 7.92 Kurtz originated in Germany during World War II for the STG-44. The STG-44 is widely credited as the first assault rifle. The round is also known as the 8mm Kurtz and the 7.92 by 33mm. So the projectile is the same size as the 7.92 by 57mm that was employed by the standard German infantry rifle of the time. The projectile is significantly lighter at 125 grains. So Kurtz is German for short, and you'll see that K designation on numerous firearms and calibers. It's become kind of the standard nomenclature for a shorter variant of a specific firearm or caliber. Guns like the MP5K, the 9mm Kurtz, and even the K in 98K means Kurtz. The 7.92 Kurtz was never an extremely popular cartridge. Most weapons produced for the cartridge were prototypes for the STG-44 program. There were a few experiments here and there, but it was never really widely adopted outside of Germany in World War II. Remington did produce the XP100 bolt-action pistol in 7.92 Kurtz. AMT produced an automag in the same cartridge, which would be a lot of fun to shoot. Beyond that, any commercial 7.92 Kurtz firearm was often a custom option or maybe a custom barrel. For example, the upper on this rifle was custom made by SSK Firearms at the behest of James Earl Jones. I reached out to SSK Firearms for any potential history of the rifle. Unfortunately, the records from that long ago are long gone, and they were just going from memory. Great people, and I'm really, really thankful they even replied to me. So this gun was a one-off custom project. According to SSK, they did a number of very unusual projects for James Earl Jones. Which, not to deviate off subject, I am endlessly curious about what else they made for him. Now, the rifle itself is mostly a standard AR. This is the most normal, weirdest gun I've ever seen. The lower is from Double Star and marked 5.56, not multi-cal. It features standard AR controls, a fixed A2 length stock, and a 16.5-inch heavy stainless steel barrel with what has to be some form of custom A2 flash hider to accommodate the 7.92 round. The handguard is a pretty basic aluminum tube that's quite nice. The rifle is fairly well balanced, but a tad on the heavy side, likely due to the heavy stainless steel barrel. But overall it's fine, it feels like an AR. Now the bolt, when we take it out of the gun, features really trim and slim walls around the breech face. This is about the only way to use a 7.92 or even a 7.62 by 39mm load in an AR-15 size platform. Now admittedly, thin walls are weak walls, and a common problem with like 7.62 by 39 ARs is the bolt breaking. I don't really think that's a big issue with this gun because who's going to shoot a ton of 7.92 Kurtz? What's neat is that before I ever shot the rifle, I took it apart to examine it, and it seemingly had been shot a fair bit, judging by the carbon that rubbed off on my fingers. And it was really neat to think that the man that played Thulsa Doom, Mufasa, Vice Admiral James Greer, had fired this rifle a fair bit and likely enjoyed it. Now, one downside to this rifle is that it's New York State compliant. To comply with New York and keep the supposed super dangerous features like a pistol grip and flash hider, the rifle is not semi-automatic. It's a straight pull bolt action, as in you pull the charging handle rearward for every shot fired. Now, the rifle does have a gas block and gas tube, but according to SSK, the barrel does not have a gas port. It wouldn't be very difficult to have a gunsmith add a port and make this a semi-auto rifle. Maybe that's what James Earl Jones intended to do at one point. I'm not really sure. New York's definition of a firearm strays a bit from the federal definition, and that means the lower and upper cannot be fully separated. So the front takedown pin is welded shut and only breaks down shotgun style at the rear. The rifle came with one ancient 5.56 thermal magazine. And in my experience, these are terrible magazines. The 7.92 Kurtz does fit, and there's a fairly large gap between the front of the magazine and the tip of the projectile. Now, I was extremely excited to shoot this rifle. Sadly, ammo is exceptionally rare right now. PPU was the only company who regularly produced the ammo. They did small runs here and there, and it was fairly affordable, about $1.20 a round. However, with all the current global conflicts, it seems like they've scaled back their production of weird calibers a fair bit. I was able to find 30 rounds of surplus 7.92 produced in 1961. It's steel cased, it's corrosive, and it was expensive. Now, I didn't really mind eating the cost to get a chance to shoot this rifle. Come on, it's the rifle owned by Darth Vader. I don't have the capability to turn 7.62 NATO into 30mm cases and reload my own, but that might be my future with this rifle if PPU doesn't start producing more ammo for it. Now, right off the bat, if you want a reliable feeding magazine, don't load more than, say, 4 rounds. Anything beyond that becomes a hassle. I thought about trying a 7.62 by 3.9 magazine. I tried, but the magazine I have actually didn't fit in the lower. Occasionally, the rounds would also seemingly get stuck in the chamber, requiring a lot of force to free them. Other times, the blowback from the round would partially open the bolt, making ejection a lot easier. As you'd expect from steel case surplus ammo from 1961, the accuracy wasn't exactly 1 m away. Now, due to the low ammo availability, I only shot this gun 50 yards and in. After zeroing the Vector Paragon at 50 yards, I fired a 3-round group from a semi-supported position using a blue barrel as a rest. The group was about 2 inches wide, so that translates to about 4 m away. Better ammo could probably make this an easier gun to shoot accurately and produce a lot tighter groups. Recoil was pretty on par with a 7.62 by 3.9mm AR. It's not much, but noticeably more than a 5.56 AR. Now, this is a straight pull bolt action, but it does have a buffer to run into when the action partially opens, which probably helps with the recoil. It's still just an intermediate caliber, so it's not going to thump you all that much. Even with its compliant quirks, with the magazine feeding issues, with the bolt getting kind of stuck closed, and not great accuracy from ammo older than my dad, I did greatly enjoy firing this rifle. Every round brought a smile to my face. Every ding of steel echoing over the range was a very satisfying sound to hear. This rifle is a perfect mix of weird and normal. It's odd. I really like the fact that it's chambered in this kind of obscure caliber that I don't think any factory AR has ever been chambered in. And if it wasn't for the ammo price, I would be shooting this thing a whole lot more. In fact, if it wasn't for the ammo price, I might convert it to semi-auto. I'm still on the fence if I really want to modify Darth Vader's rifle too much. So this was the first time I've ever fired a 7.92 Kurtz in any gun at all. And there are likely very few 7.92 Kurtz ARs out there. They'd all have to be custom jobs. It's just a ton of fun to shoot a rifle that once belonged to such a legendary actor, an Army veteran, and a gun rights advocate who strayed from the anti-gun mindset of many of his colleagues and peers. This rifle, and many others in the James Earl Jones collection, display an unusual and eclectic taste in firearms. I imagine his full collection is even more fascinating, unusual, and rare. Maybe one day we'll know the full extent of his collection, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some truly unique pieces. So that's all I have on this kind of neat, kind of odd, but also painfully normal rifle. I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions, ask below, and I'll answer them the best I can. Thank you.